All right, guys, welcome into the Go and Fun Esports League of Legends tournament here, brought to you by gamers.com.mtm. Your caster, Alex Magical Voice, joined in by Ender L.
Oh yeah, that's my name. We're glad to be back. Or at least I am. I don't know how you're feeling,
Oh,
but
I'm happy.
yeah, I recognize at least 50% of the teams in this first lobby right here. Haze was in the last tournament we got to cast, and we're starting it off standard and strong.
Yeah, exactly. So should be able to see them come back to form like we did last time. But they have some new players, just some old players, some new players. So it will be interesting to see how they kind of play around. They're going to go against the team known as Angels.
Yeah, and right now, already with the heavy target of the jungle pool, right? You got Rengar, Graves, two of the strongest junglers on this patch, even with a lot of the nerfs that Rengar did receive, to his earlier jungle clear, not getting quite as much armor, not healing just as much, but the damage went untouched, and that's why you do pick the Rengar, is for that backline assassination potential.
Exactly. And a lot of times you see that paired up with the Shen. Shen, very strong in the meta right now, but we do see on the red side the Angels banning away the Orianna and the Karma thus far.
Absolutely, yeah. Shen is one of those champions that actually gets banned quite a lot in the competitive scene. Just very strong up against a lot of the other tank matchups like the Maokai's, the Nautiluses we see. But it's also fun when we do get some more carry top laners. I know Pancake Puff loves some of those, the Fioras, Aurelias of the world, but we've also seen some Rumble Renekton do very well in the past, and we'll have to see where they want to take this first phase of the ban, or the pick
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah, but we did have that jungle pool completely pinched, Kha'Zix being the last ban, and then we see on the other side Angels really targeting that support pool, banning away the Janna, but that doesn't seem to phase the side of Haze at all as they pick in that Lulu right away.
Yeah, they banned two supports over on the red side, but they didn't ban the queen of the support role. Lulu just absolutely a monster down there. Not only does she have that lane bullying potential, but she's also a massive support when it comes to late game, has the wild growth, all those shields, so she really does have sort of the best of both worlds, and Karma would be sort of the secondary to that pick, but it feels almost like Angels sort of shot themselves in the foot by banning away two good supports while leaving
Yeah.
that Lulu up for first pick.
Yeah, completely agree. Definitely a interesting banning phase coming in from them. But they also have an interesting pick phase as they've locked in the Alawi and the Gragas for their top and jungle.
Yeah, and those two champions alongside each other seems a little bit peculiar because you got sort of got the anti-synergy, and obviously these teams, they've been playing with each other for quite some time now, so I doubt we're ever going to see an explosive cast just completely make Alawi's own ultimate irrelevant. But it's
So possible.
yeah, it's an odd pick in the top lane, honestly, especially when you don't already see what your opponent's playing. It's just a blind pick for Juareb right here, and he is just very confident in that champion, it seems.
Yeah, but we do have it going to go against the Fiora in the top lane for Haze, with Ashe going to be the 80 carry that they pick up.
Yeah, the Fiora top lane, a little bit interesting right there. We've got the battle of two carries up in the top lane we were talking about. You either go for these really tanky top laners, initiators, or you go these split pushers, these carries that are absolutely going to try and dominate in the 1 versus 1, and that's what we see in this matchup between Pancake and Juareb, and it's going to be a tough one, honestly, because Pancake Puff, this guy's Diamond 1, he's very high on the ladder, and he's on this high skill champion, the Fiora, that really just wants to dominate anyone he comes across in the 1v1.
Yeah, so we will see how he does face off against Juareb in that top lane, but we do see that the Ari and the Braum have been picked up for the side of the Angels.
Right, and as of now, we've got a lot stronger champions, I feel like, in the hands of Haze. Bottom lane, the Ashe, great initiator when you don't have a tanky top laner. And on the other side of things, the Braum, yes, he's going to be a great team fighter, but I'm not really sure how it's going to fare up in the 2v2 down in the bottom lane, and that's really where I think that the Angels are going to struggle. They're not ranked as highly as Haze, and if you get beaten badly in the laning phase, if you don't even put yourselves in a position to succeed, I think it's going to be a really tough time for them.
Yeah, they really made it hard on themselves. They picked the Vayne into the bot lane as well, while the side of Haze have opted for that Shyvana in the jungle and that Syndra in the mid lane.
Yeah, the Shyvana jungle, I think the biggest surprise over on the side of Haze right now. Not really too sure what to think out of that pick, in all honesty. They're just having a little bit fun switching around the champions on us right now, but Thinking about that just in general, it's this hard power clearing jungler. You just farm, farm, farm. Ganks aren't all that strong. You don't really have any crowd control until you do reach that level 6 point. But it's also a champion that is going to be absolutely nuts in a 1 versus 1. If you want to style on your opponent, you want to dominate them, Shyvana is a good one to do that. And I really do think that later in the game, maybe Ruby wants to go into a side lane and really activate a split push.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. At least if they have good dragon control, the Shyvana really can come
That's
in,
true.
come online with that. Her new passive makes it so that's what she wants to do. But honestly, if you look at every lane for the side of Haze, they're not too worried. They have Pancake Puff on that Fiora. They're figuring that he's going to do pretty good into Schwab. They have the mid lane Bubbles going to be on that Syndra going into an Ahri. More of a skill matchup there, but still. And the bot lane especially, we're going to have a lot of poke coming in from both the Ashe and the Lulu going into that Vayne Braum matchup.
Exactly, and I think the Shyvana pick is definitely going to be a lot more reactive in these earlier stages of the game. Gragas is a playmaker. You got the body slam flash, you can really try and swing some lane matchups in your favor. But if Ruby and the rest of his team is able to get down good vision and he's able to show up as a counter ganker, that's an absolutely lethal tool. If Gragas uses both his gap closers to actually go in for the gank, then he has no way out, and Shyvana, if she's good at anything, it's at running your opponents down, and with an overcommit, it might be possible to pick up some kills early on.
Yeah, very true. Will be interesting to see how this does play out in the matchup between Haze and Angels. But before we get into the matchup, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We have GO&FUN energy drink, as you can tell with the GO&FUN esports tournament that we are bringing to you today. But we also have the Point Shopping Mall, Costa Coffee, Smart Car Malta, Hugo's Burgers, Urban Jungle, JobsInMalta.com, and the Powerhouse. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring this tournament and helping us to bring this to everybody.
Yeah, and thanks to my wonderful co-caster who's going to be with me for the entire tournament. I'm so happy. That's you,
Yeah,
Magical Voice. You're welcome.
We'll see if you're with me the whole tournament, though. That's
yeah,
this
it's
is
still to be determined whether or not I'm going to be here for the last game of today. But hopefully, if we get through these quickly, we'll be able to bring all of those to you. The pair of us, Magical Ender
exactly.
Duo.
Yeah, you gotta
Dream
love
team.
that duo. We've been doing this together for quite some time now. We've gotten, I'd say, a good synergy going on, where we understand cast and all that good fun stuff. But we'll find out here because we are in the earlier stages of the tournament, where it's going to be a lot more of these high-ranking teams that we expect a lot of playing against these teams that are just trying to come in, trying to make a name for themselves. So we'll see if any team is able to do that, or if these really high-ranking teams are able to just completely take the tournament like they did last time.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. In the group stages last time round, it was basically we had 4 undefeated teams in all the groups, and then we had a lot of winless teams in those groups as well. So it definitely is a challenge. It's not unheard of for under-ranking teams to actually overperform and beat their opponents. But you're going to have to pull out a few tricks. You're going to have to make some surprises and hope that your opponents can overestimate you. Picks like the Shyvana, honestly, things you don't see all too often. Clearly, Ruby is confident enough in it to pick it in a game like this, but it is a champion that can be kited out later on, especially when you've got a Vayne, you've got a Braum. It's going to be really hard for Ruby to do a lot within these team fights, and maybe that's sort of the goal here for the Angels. Stall it out towards the later stages of the game, let this Vayne really pop off, and try to team fight your way to victory.
Yeah, even the Ahri is going to be able to kite really well, going to be able to use those charms, especially if it lands onto the Shyvana, who doesn't really have good ways of just disengaging from that. Going to be a way back into the game, but Shyvana does scale well into the late game as well. We will see how that is played by the side of Haze. As they do go into this, we are starting to get into the loading screen, so hopefully it won't be too much longer till we can give you guys this game.
Right, that's always the struggle, the 3-minute delay in on between. It is worth pointing out a couple of the Keystone Mastery choice here. Shyvana going for the Storm Eater Surge. She doesn't want to be kited out whatsoever. And on the other side of things, Illaoi, Juareb is taking the new, not Bond of Stone, but the Stoneborn Pact, and that is something that I'm not entirely sold on. It's 5% bonus HP, but typically on the Illaoi, you're not going to build full tank. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of HP items, but that's not generally your focus.
Yeah, that is definitely a questionable pick. I have seen a lot of data that shows that Stoneborn Pack, while very strong in the early game, does tend to fall off in the late game, and that's really when Alawi is going to be bored with the team. It's towards the mid to late game, so that's when the mastery will start to fall off just a bit.
Yeah, although, of course, percentage scaling HP, that's always going to be effective the later you get on into things. So at least for that little statistic, it will continue to increase as long as Juareb continues to build HP. Just noting a couple of things coming out of the gate right here. We've got Dorian's Blade starts in the top lane. We've seen a lot more players switching over to the Longsword 3 potion, similar to the 80 carries that went ahead and did that. But what this will give them is the stronger all-in when you have that bonus 80 HP just flat off. If there is some early fighting, which we could probably expect out of an Alawi Fiora, it'll give them a little bit more survivability.
Yeah, I would like to see OE going into that top lane, trying to see if he can help out the Alawi, especially into this Fiora matchup. You want to put the Fiora down as quickly as possible, but that would allow a lot of opportunity for Ruby to get towards those dragons that definitely are going to be coveted by the side of Haze.
Yeah, that's always the interesting one to watch out for. And we can go over pan over. Is a Mountain Drake coming up first? So it's definitely something that not only because of the Shyvana passive you want to prioritize, but it's a strong Drake in general. If you want to rush down the Baron later on in the game, if you want to go for the split push Fiora, get your turrets pretty easily, it's definitely something that I think that Haze would really like to have in their aid.
Exactly. As well as that Rift Herald buff, that really does benefit the Fiora. Going to make it a lot easier going into that Alawi matchup. But it will be pivotal on how things start off. But we see things going very standard. No one really trying to go for any cheeky invades. No deep wards either coming from either side.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to talk about the Rift Herald for a little bit right here. You know, during this sort of lull in the early game, it's a neutral objective that people really just don't prioritize. They don't take in League of Legends all too much, and I honestly feel like that's a little bit of a mistake. Sure, the common argument is that you don't have this fantastic payoff for the buff. It's not like it's going to change the game, but it can swing some matchups, giving you the extra durability in a side lane in the one-on-one, as well as, you know, more damage on towers, more damage against champions in the later stages of the game. And if you're able to get an early lead, definitely can go for it.
I think
Holy
that's
cow.
much more of, wow, that was a flash in by Pancake trying to go for that really hard on Juareb. But going back to the Rift Herald, I think that's much more to do with the meta than the buff not being good. The buff, I think, is very good, but it just, the meta for a while has been that tank in the top lane where tanks don't really need it that much. They don't really prioritize that because they're not split pushing. They're trying to be with the team. Well, we see a lot of damage going back and forth all over the place, and Worker doing the work in that bot lane onto Unknown Patient.
Yeah, and this is what we sort of expected coming into a game like this. Haze, they've got the high-ranking players, and they're dominating in the lane.
Yeah, in every lane, too. They are just doing a great job. We've seen Pancake, he flashed really aggressively onto Juareb earlier. We just saw in the mid lane how much damage that Isaac just took as well. No, we didn't. I thought we saw a smite steal from Ruby onto that red buff. But he's just going to be in the area and actually going to be fighting OE right now. Going to take a little bit of damage, but he was just on a far invade and the good roam coming in for Bubbles to disengage from OE.
Exactly, and Ruby is going to be doing a lot of this in this game, pushing up, shoving into the enemy jungle, because his lanes are absolutely dominating. The waves are crashing in against Angel's towers, and those laners are going to have a very hard time coming to the aid of OE. Juareb actually leaving that top lane cost him quite a few CS and control of the lane up there. 16 to 8 Pancake Puff simply can walk up to about where the caster minion line is, and Juareb just will not be able to walk up and grab himself CS.
Yeah, and look in the mid and bot lane as well. We see that Isaac and Unknown have both back, so they're going to lose out in a massive chunk of CS. We already see a huge lead, and it's only 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, OE really needs to go top lane right now just to hard shove that wave in. Sure, you're gonna maybe steal some CS, soak some EXP, but look at the lane right now. Pancake Puff has the potential here to just freeze this for the rest of the game, and we've already seen that because of his champion's 1v1 potential, his dueling prowess, Juareb just cannot walk up to farm those minions, and if this lane is just left to sit right here, Juareb is gonna be significantly behind.
Yeah, but we see the exhaust going on to Asmalex. He got stunned up by the concussive blows, but they're trading a lot of damage back on an Unknown Patient, getting the condemned backwards and flashing out from that Vayne. Gonna keep him safe for now, but he is a very, very prime target for anyone on the map.
Yeah, that's a really tough trade to take right there if you're Unknown Patient, because he already lost his heal earlier in the laning phase, right before he went back to recall for the first time. Now he doesn't have that summoner spell, so he is forced to end up flashing away because you don't have that other defensive tool at your disposal. Yes, Osmolex and Worku both burnt their flashes at the same time, but right now you really don't want to be giving that up when the lane phase is already going poorly for you.
Yeah, the laning phase is going poorly all across the map. We see that in top lane, Pancake Puff going on to Dwarf again, getting the flash out of that Alawi. The flash wasn't burned before by Pancake Puff, so getting it now is going to make it really easy for him to get a possible kill, as we see already a 30 CS lead for Pancake Puff.
Yeah, and it's not the 30 CS lead that is like the huge, mind-blowing statement. It's that Dwarab only has 11 CS, and we're approaching the 6-minute mark right here. There's about 10 CS about to crash into his turret, so hopefully for him, he'll be able to pick up a lot of those minions right here, but he's got to really figure out how he's going to perform in this lane phase on this blind pick Alawi.
Yeah, that is always the problem with taking something blind into the top or the mid lane. You always got to fear that your opponent knows how to play against that, or they're going to counter it. It just seems that Pancake Puff knows how to play against it. At least in the mid lane, that was Unleashed Power with the Ignite, getting that first blood over to Bubbles.
Yeah,
yeah,
another!
And lane too. Yeah, look at that. Asmolek's able to get a kill onto Unknown Patient as well. So all lanes right now dominating for the side of Haze.
Yeah, this is really disheartening here if you are on the side of Angels, but in the mid lane especially, it's the level 6 from the Syndra. Not enough respect given by Isaac, and at the same time, the mid lane Summoner spell sort of meta has shifted. Now that we've seen nerfs to Exhaust, nerfs to Ghost, more and more mid laners are taking this Ignite, and when you've got aggressive picks like the Syndra, like the Ahri, I really love seeing it for that aggressive level 6 all in, and Bubbles made it work right there, big time.
Really did, really. And it's like you had mentioned, not the
man.
respect. Oh man, that damage coming in from both Worku and Asmolek, getting that easy kill onto Gabu. But it was going back to the Ahri, just all matchups right now. It's not respecting your opponent enough when you are behind. They're trying to farm from a distance, but the amount of damage that everyone from the side of Haze is able to output, even as a Lulu, even as an Ashe early on, is just so much that these later game picks like the Vayne or like the melee's picks like Gabu is just going to be way too hard as they use that Crystal Arrow onto Unknown under the tower, and they're already not afraid to dive at this stage of the game.
Yeah, the toughest thing probably going to be the CS discrepancies across all lanes 30 so far. Top lane.
At top lane, Jara forced to use that ultimate, had to use the leap of faith, not hitting anybody, but now we see Asmolek's actually got himself way too far out, so Unknown Patient, talk about disrespect. Worker's probably going to be the next target, doesn't have his flash up, going to use the wild growth on his self-condemned, not getting into the wall, but still getting that shutdown gold onto that Ashe is going to be really nice for the Vayne.
Absolutely. There you go. Osmolex Worku, again, you said it, not enough respect. That's the name of this game. The Angels have to give a lot of it to Haze, but at the same time, if Haze get overconfident, if they get too cocky, they can allow leads to sort of slip away through their fingers, although at the moment doesn't seem like a real possibility. Again, we're just going to be tracking the CS numbers this entire game. Top lane is absolutely tragic for Dwarab. He's down already 700 gold just off of CSing alone. There's been no kills gone over in that 1v1, and what that means is almost a full black cleaver for Pancake Puff and tier 1 components for Dwarab.
And look in the mid lane, Bubbles just using that Unleashed Power, but he's getting flashing away from the explosive cast. Really well timed by Bubbles, making sure to dodge out from OE, but still getting a lot onto Isaac, forcing another back onto that Ahri. So not only is the CS in his favor by almost 50 now, but look at the level discrepancy. 2 levels already in favor of High and Bubbles.
Yeah, and OE made the classic Gragas mistake right there. He tried to get an auto attack in at the same time. Bot lane.
Yeah, bot lane, we have the fissure coming out. They're going to get the concussive blows. Here comes the stacks. The heal has been used by Asmolek using that arrow, but the kill going to be picked up by Gabu as we see Ruby able to get himself that Mountain Drake. And we will actually see OE keep his own buff, but now the bot lane. Here comes a High on Bubbles, not connecting that Scatter the Weak, but getting a lot of damage onto that Vayne. does not have the unleashed power, but they have the damage still to get the kill onto Unknown Patient. And in the top lane, we see Pancake Buff just going to go for a little bit of poke onto Schwarb.
Yeah, no fun right there down in the bottom lane. Unknown Patient and Gabu are trying their best to make up for sort of the losses that their team is already receiving in this early laning phase, but it's Haze that are the first ones to the punch. It took Angel's dual lane a bit too long to actually chase down Osmolex in that 2 versus 2. So Ruby, who is on the Drake, Bubbles, who is just consistently shoving the mid lane, were able to roam on down there, secure themselves a kill, and once more the map stabilizes, but it's heavily in favor of Haze.
Yeah, they got to be careful on the side of Angels, and really just looking at the map already, even though it's only 10 minutes into the game, you got to ask yourself, do Angels really have a chance to come back into this game? We've seen Ruby just farming up as the Shyvana should, and we've seen how dominant the side of Haze are when it comes to just the laning phase, but as well as communicating as a team.
Yeah, well, you know, the generic statement whenever you see like an early game like this is just play for the late game. And honestly, there is potential for a teamfight victory later on. You've got all these fantastic tools, the Alawi, the Gragas, the Braum, the Vayne, come later in towards this one. And honestly, there's not really a true tank on the side of Haze. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe not, but at the same time, if Haze do not close this one out quickly and effectively, I think there is definitely some wiggle room. Look out,
yeah,
man.
but we see Isaac getting engaged on. He's going to fall. That's going to be the unleashed power.
Oh,
Actually,
he's
gonna
alive!
Survive with a sliver of health. The Spirit Rush barely surviving that. My goodness. Never lucky for the side of High I'm Bubbles.
Yeah, you're counting the eggs before they hatch right there, Magic. Isaac had that all planned. He knew he was going to get out alive, no problem. Definitely calculated the HP right there. That's why you build the early Negatron Cloak in a matchup like this, and in a lot of mid lane matchups, honestly. So good on him to escape, and didn't even have to burn the flash. That's how confident he was.
Yeah, he did have the Spirit Rush, so able to get himself to safety with that. So as long as you have those cooldowns in your favor, you're going to be fine, but not going to have that for quite some time. Makes it so that he will be a prime target here, as High on Bubbles Unleashed Power is on a lower cooldown than that Spirit Rush.
Yeah, and now we've got Haze just grouping up in the mid lane. Because they were winning all of their lanes, all these outer turrets have taken heavy damage. Bottom lane already went down, so Osmolex and Worku easily able to rotate up mid lane, get some damage down, go back down bottom lane, and they don't even really lose any minions to the turret. Vayne is not a very good pusher when it just comes to clearing out waves quickly and effectively, so Osmolex and Worku are going to be able to continue this until they get that mid tower.
Yeah, at least until they get the mid lane tower, but we also have the fact that Unknown Patient, once he gets a static shift, he'll be better at clearing waves, not the best, but at least it's something, as we do see that he might be pathing for that. It's kind of hard to tell because his build right now is all over the place, more focused on the attack speed than anything else.
Right, and that's fairly standard for the Vayne if you go for the W Max, which is quite popular. Blade of the Ruin King, I think, is going to be the first item to come out. A lot of players, AD carry specifically, have been loving that item. Mid lane.
Okay, this is now Isaac falling. He got ignited there.
He got the auto attack. The auto attack is what did it right there.
Well, also the ignite was going on to Isaac, so no matter what, even if the auto attack didn't get down on that one, that was a kill. And now Bubbles will be able to get a nice mid lane tower for himself.
Yeah, Osmolex and Worku not even needed right there. So a little bit unfortunate that once again more and more structures are falling. That's an arrow.
Oh, and that's the arrow connecting onto OE. He does have that body slam, so he gets himself to safety. We have Bubbles on the roam. Here comes Worker. They don't connect. That Scatter the Weak. And here comes Ruby not connecting that Dragon's Descent. The explosive cast will disengage, but that means the mid lane turret is now going to take a lot of damage.
That's when you go shift, enter, outplayed right there. Tell them in all chat, there's a fight!
Oh, but look at the fight going in the mid lane. They got the charm onto Asmalex, the flash coming in. Fissure going to connect onto Worku. Worku taking a lot of damage, flashing away. Oe going to use, try to go in. Ruby getting exhausted, but they're going to have the damage coming in. Scatter the Weak connecting onto Isaac. Oe going to be the next target. They get the double kill onto Ruby. Unknown Patient will get himself to tower, but they lose 3 members and not able to connect one themselves.
And that fight right there started out looking good.
Oh.
Unknown Patient is destroyed. But all the tools were really there at the start for the Angels, but then they chased for too long. What have I been saying about Ruby's ability to turn these fights around? If the Angels overextend, he can just turn on the fire and absolutely shred his opponents.
Very true, and that's exactly what happened. He turned on that fire and went right at them. And honestly, that is just I don't really see a good way for Angels to come in unless we see an absolute throw coming in from the side of Haze. They've played it a little bit disrespectful with Asmalex in the bot lane. He died twice in really situations that he shouldn't have. But we see all across the map, they've just dominated. The mid lane has such a huge CS lead, as well as being 4-0-3 on that Syndra. We see in the jungle even, just, I say quote-unquote ganks, because that was more just Ruby being in the right place at the right time. Now being 2-0, having that Blood Razor, and having the components for a Blade of the Ruined King himself.
Yeah, and, you know, really the only remedy here is going to be time. Gank in the top lane from OE.
Yeah, but he does connect that body slam. Puff's got to be really careful. Here comes the explosive cast. Puff is going to try to fight this against Dwarab and OE.
Holy
he did use
cow.
the challenge, has the damage, the heal coming in for him. Going to flash onto OE, trying to get that one last vital. Does get the kill. Now he's going to fight Dwarab. Dwarab has no mana, but neither does Pancake. Going to get those vitals that you need. The flash coming in from the Alawi. Going to get the safety, but that 2v1 going in favor of Pancake.
Yeah, that's really tough because right there the trade is a kill in the top lane for the Dragon, but OE doesn't get the kill in the top lane. He actually gets taken down, which is just absolutely unfortunate for him and the rest of the Angels here. And what we have to do in a game like this, because again, time is the only thing that can actually pull Angels out of this one. Instead, we need to shift our focus. How do Haze cut this game down as fast as humanly possible? The Rift Herald, right after that second Mountain Drake, is going to be their focus. I think you absolutely hand that one off to Ruby right here with the recall coming in from Pancake, and from there, top lane turret is looking mighty fine.
Yeah, it really is going to be just that extra gold. We see that it's 17 minutes into the game, almost 10,000 gold lead going in favor of Haze. That's not even just monumental. That is just astronomical in how far ahead we see Haze right now.
It really is, and Ruby's looking for the 1v1 on OE.
Yeah, OE, you walked into the wrong neighborhood, my friend. He's going to try to body slam over that wall. Will get to safety, but took so much damage from that.
Yeah, now Ruby's just basically corralling everyone. That's an arrow, actually.
Yeah, that was an
pretty
arrow.
deep.
I think he used a little over aggressively, but now we see Pancake Puff going to be fighting Unknown Patient.
Does
this
he
is
have
actually
it?
The Bane is kiting really well with that Fiora. We will see that Pancake Puff has to run for the hills, and now we see Ruby and Bubbles coming in the background. They get the kill on OE. That was the Dragon's Descent as well as the Fissure. Gabu trying to see if he can just kite around. Here comes the Redemption, gonna help get the kill as they do pick that one up with the Scatter of the Week. Double kill going in favor of Bubbles.
And that's a point in the game where you just have to cut your losses. If you're the Angels, you know that the entire Haze team is going around shepherding you in underneath that tower. Just walk back, go to your tier 2 and defend it. Otherwise, you lose out even more.
Oh, Isaac took so much damage. Ignite
Ignites.
He will fall to that. Bubbles. This time, I was right on that one. The Ignite was there. And we see that he just was too close, and you have to respect the damage coming in. As we see 18 minutes into the game, we already have Haze knocking on inhibitor towers.
Exactly, and if they just backed up, it would not be this bad. They only would have lost one.
Oh,
Jesus!
Wow, the damage coming in. He's not quite tanky enough, only having that Cinder Hulk, no actual resistances outside of those Merc Treads, which is not going to be enough to stop the damage coming in from Bubbles.
Yeah, now we got the 1-3-1, or like the 3-1-1, I guess, with Ruby in the mid lane. I just don't know what these guys can do. They've got no wave clear left.
And look at this, Dwarab getting just dove as well, taking so much damage. There's really nothing that you can do on the side of Angels. You're getting dove consistently from the side of Haze, who just don't care at all. They're pushing in all inhibitors. And, man, this is such a huge lead at the 19-minute mark.
Ooh.
Flash coming in from Isaac, but he went way too aggressive. Bubbles
Well,
just turns back around, deletes him.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. Even if Isaac lands that flash charm, he doesn't really have any damage to back that one up. He went for the Abyssal Scepter Rush, which I'm just not really a huge fan of. And honestly, Bubbles didn't do any damage right there. But if anyone's gonna 1v1 the Gragas when they've got like 200 HP, it's gonna be the Syndra.
Yeah, and he is sitting on a massive chunk of gold. We haven't seen him buy.
You think?
Yeah, think. You know, it's just speculation. Just minor
It's
speculation.
4K. Holy.
And
He just
you know,
got Sork shoes, a full Rabadon's death cap plus needlessly large rod.
that wasn't that much gold. Come on, man.
Yeah, okay. Me too.
I mean, if we saw him one-shotting people before, now it's just gonna be.
I mean, now I don't even think he needs R. Honestly, it's like when you got that super fed Vigar, and it's like his W ends up doing more damage than his ultimate if you're at full HP, because it's like 1.2 AP scaling. It's like that's like Syndra right now. This is the 20-minute Baron, by the way.
20-minute Baron, 50% already. They have 2 Mountain Drakes.
You got this, Oe!
Do something.
Oh!
He loses his life, but the Baron does go over to Angels.
The miracle play from Oe out of the jungle, 0-5-0, but he is the hero right there, coming up absolutely huge with the Baron steal. His team might be down 14,000 gold, but that Baron may be a tool to try and stall this one out even longer.
Yeah, but we saw that Isaac got hit by that arrow. He is going to use that Spirit Rush. There was no unleashed power from Bubbles, so they do get the disengage. And even though they get the Baron, it is just delaying the inevitable. We see these inhibitor towers already being pressured by the side of Haze. There's no real way that Angels can use that Baron, as we do see the Fissure coming in onto Worku. Redemption is going to be used as well as that Exhaust onto Shorab. Here comes Pancake Puff. They're going to try to see if they get the kill onto Shorab. They do get the ground challenge kill onto him as well. Now, we see that Oe was able to get to safety, but even with this Baron buff, they cannot stop the siege coming in from Haze.
Yeah, Isaac is the only way clear. This is a fight!
Yeah, that's the fight on to Unknown. He has the heal. He will fall to Ruby, as we do see Ruby getting exhausted, but he will still help get that kill onto Gabu, as we see Oe dropping the Bubbles. We saw Isaac dropping. We see everyone on the side of Angels dropping. No more Baron for them. 22 minutes into the game. This should be Haze's.
Yeah, they're going to get 2 inhibitors easily right here. Minions not quite in full supply here, but with the death timers being so low, maybe there's a chance to try and save the base. But a teleport coming in, keeping the minions alive, will secure them at least 1 Nexus tower.
Yeah, and even with Joarb here, we see Isaac getting up, Unknown Patience about to get up, but Joarb falling so quickly. As we do see the Scatter of the Weak connecting onto Isaac. That is going to be the Crystal Arrow helping to get the kill on Unknown Patient. They're just trying to pad their KDA at this moment. We had the really deep dive coming into Worku and Ruby. They're just trying to pressure them back into their fountain. This is going to be the game. 22 minutes into it. Haze picks up a really clean win.
Yeah, Pancake Puff just going for even more. That's 1 kill. That's 2. Do even dive this one right now. I think the minions might end it before that. Shut down for Gabu. He's the real MVP.
Hey, at least they got something from that over-aggressive dive going under their own fountain. But Haze really dominating that game, showing why they made it so far in the previous tournament and why we predict that they'll make it very far in this tournament as well.
Absolutely, and I would like to say that, you know, even in a heavy skill mismatch, right, you've got all these high-ranking players on the side of Haze. The Angels actually had 3 bright moments. There was actually 2 points down in the bottom lane where Unknown Patience and Gabu were actually able to kill Osmolex in the 2 versus 2, which actually is a huge surprise and a lot of disrespect, honestly, coming in from Osmolex, but just finding those opportunities, definitely something to be proud of. And of course, that Baron steal at the end. Oh, he prepped it by throwing the cask, then he flashed over the wall and smited that one for himself. So definitely big props to him, and moving forward in that tournament, hopefully they can rally behind those bright spots to, you know, come out with a win later on.
But it wasn't just the smite win, he also used the explosive cast as well as his regular barrel for a lot of burst potential.
Yes, exactly.
So it was a great shining moment coming in from Oe, and he definitely needs to take that and remember that, maybe put that on his personal highlights, because that was great. Even though he lost his life, even though they lost the game, it was something. But we'll find out how the rest of the games do play out now, as we are about to take a short little break as we get into everything. So guys, enjoy the commercials, but we'll be back in just a moment.
going on? We're in the middle of an epic car chase. Is that why you're moving in slow motion?
Epic car chases are always done in slow motion.
That's a bit cliche. Going for a donut.
Donuts.
Smart.
The moment the juice gently drips down your patty. When your taste buds meet real wholesome meat, that's when you know you're in a point of no return. You realize you're lost in the pleasures only a true meal can offer. You're lost, but you sure as hell don't want to be found. Hugo's Burger Bar. Let's burger like never before.
Life's about looking for little moments of happiness.
Moments when we come out of the cold and into the welcoming warmth. Delicious leisurely mornings or long lazy afternoons where we dream sweet dreams and take the time to finally be ourselves.
When you find these little moments of happiness, life becomes irresistible, a journey to be enjoyed. And Costa is there with you, every sip of the way.